We all set? Everybody ready? Okay. Good morning, everybody. Thank you. There is a quote that explains a lot about leadership and preparation. It goes, "If I had 8 hours to chop down a tree, I'd spend the first 6 of them sharpening my axe." This is often attributed to Abraham Lincoln. And it really does capture the essence of what I'm about to share with you and with the people of Jacksonville today. Before crafting a compelling narrative or implementing a bold new policy, we have to first equip ourselves with reliable, context-rich information. Just as a dull axe makes the task harder and more wasteful, decisions made without data or with poorly understood data can be inefficient or even counterproductive. That's why I am so proud to stand here today and announce the launch of State of Jax, a first-of-its-kind public-private partnership in Jacksonville that will sharpen a collective understanding of our city through the power of data. This is not just a website. When fully completed, State of Jax will be a dynamic tool that puts real, actionable insight into the hands of people who need it most: city leaders, nonprofits, business owners, and our residents alike. When I took office, I promised a new era of data-driven governance, where transparency and accountability are not just buzzwords, but foundational to how we operate. We've already laid the necessary groundwork with our transparency dashboards. I know you're all familiar with those on jacksonville.gov. They show how our city government is performing. And while performance metrics tell us how effectively our city dollars are being used, we also need complementary data to understand how our outcomes compare to those of other cities and to help us target our limited resources to where they are needed most. That's where State of Jax provides the opportunity for transformative change in our city. With this new platform, we can now benchmark Jacksonville against national and state averages. We can segment citywide data into neighborhoods, zip codes, and city council districts, and we can track changes and progress over time. By doing so, we can better analyze how our investments in housing, economic development, health, and education are making a meaningful difference. And we can use those insights to refine and improve our approach. Y'all can come on in. I know it's crowded, but please don't feel like you have to be outside. I can see your smiling face from outside the door, Isaiah. Thank you for being here. So let's not forget, Jacksonville is not just a growing city. It is a complex story that's unfolding every day. The 1 million plus people who call our city home have their unique journey and story to tell. They each have aspirations that have not yet fully been realized. These journeys unfold across our 198 neighborhoods, our 245 public and charter schools, our 151 private K-12 schools, 502 arts, cultural, and humanities nonprofits, 2,039 houses of worship, 16 colleges, universities, and technical schools, 66,000 small businesses, and 4 Fortune 500 companies. Through the lens of data, we can transform individual stories into a shared civic narrative, one that helps us track the trajectory of our residents, from early learning to lifelong health, from first jobs to retirement security. With root cause analysis, we moved beyond disconnected statistics and begin to see a more complete picture, one that reveals both the promise and the barriers to opportunities. And how we tell that story matters, because data-driven storytelling is more than charts and graphs. It's how we uncover the real experiences of our residents here in Jacksonville, where they're thriving, where they're struggling, and where we must do better. I hope the State of Jax will empower us to align our efforts across sectors, target our investments, and design more innovative policies that meet people where they are. This is what smart, accountable governments should all be doing. I want to emphasize that this did not happen in a vacuum. State of Jax is the product of a unique public-private partnership, as I said before. It brought together data scientists, community organizations, city departments, business leaders, and academic institutions, all united by a belief that we can make better decisions when we can actually see the whole picture. When we've sharpened our axe, then it is now the time to build. Let this be the start of a new chapter for Jacksonville, one where data becomes our shared compass, guiding us toward a healthier, safer, more prosperous city. In a moment, I'm going to invite Dr. Parvez Ahmed, our Chief of Analytics, who spearheaded this project, to show us how the last 12 months of work have prepared us for the exciting journey that comes next. Before that, though, I do want to extend gratitude to everyone, from members of City Council to leaders of community organizations, from professors at universities to their students, and from business leaders to innovators who participated in this project to drive it toward success. And this is just the beginning. Thank you so much. And Parvez, where are you? The podium is yours.
Yeah. So the most impressive statistics of the day is Jacksonville has way too many data nerds than we all thought. This room is full. So this is our moment of big reveal. First, I want to thank Mayor Deegan for her support for this unique partnership and her leadership in always emphasizing evidence and data-driven decision-making. I also want to thank our partnering organizations that are listed over here. And I want to give a special shout out to two people in this room. One, Adam Berry from Wingard, for helping us prepare our website and our dashboards, and to my student intern from UNF, Sneha Katari. So please raise your hand. Thank you. So there is no place like home. And Jacksonville has a lot to cheer and celebrate. We are ranked number 7 in the best big cities to live by US News and World Report. We are also number 7 in best places to retire. We are number 3 in being one of the hottest job markets in the country. Our city has a AA bond rating, and we are ranked top 25 in best places for renters. And as the mayor said in her budget address, momentum is indeed on our side. We are a city of 1 million+ people. We are only one of 11 cities with 1 million+ people. And we are also one of the fastest growing cities in the country. In fact, among large cities, our rate of growth is only surpassed by 2 other cities, Houston and Fort Worth. And if we continue growing at the rate at which we are growing, we are most likely to add another 500,000 people to our city in the next 25 years. To give you a context, this is where Jacksonville's growth has been for the last 55 years. It took us 55 years to add 500,000 people to our city. We could add the same number of people in half the time over the next 25 years. This is where data comes in. If we manage this growth, it's a blessing. If we do not rise to the challenge, this can feel burdensome. So being a professor, which I've not given up yet, of management, I like to quote one of my gurus in business school, Peter Drucker: what get measures, get managed. So this is why we are leaning into data, because data will make the invisible visible, data will bring accountability, data will create trust, and ultimately then data will help us drive the change that we are looking for. With that in mind, we launch State of Jax with a mission to conduct data-driven research to identify, measure, report, and propel Jacksonville's progress towards shared economic, educational, health, and cultural goals. Our vision is to provide practical data-based research to make Jacksonville not only a destination city, but also a city that affords opportunities for all its citizens. The goals of this project are ambitious, but doable. We want to work collaboratively, as we have done for the past 12 months, with a variety of civic groups and academic leaders. We want to conduct data-driven research. Some of it we will show you today. And we want to produce an annual report going forward. But most importantly, we want to take this information out into the communities, out into civic groups, out into our community groups, and engage our community into conversation. Because the feedback that we will receive from those groups will help us propel this project forward. At this point, I want to thank and acknowledge the members of the advisory committee. If you are in the room, can you please stand and be acknowledged? Thank you. It's been an impressive journey with all of them for the last 12 months. Please be seated. Thank you. And more to come. So with that, we are launching State of Jax. We are launching stateofjax.org. That's the website. You can see a little bit. I pulled out a few screenshots from the website, and I'm going to walk you through what you can see if you go to the website. It's live and it's working right now. You will see data that is segmented by almost like a cradle to grave kind of a life cycle: early childhood, higher education, school years, work years, and retirement. But data is also segmented by areas of impact: economic impact, health impact, education impact, and social impact. So when you see a data dashboard like this, and we'll show you a couple just for the sake of time, we'll only get through a couple of them, you will see them often cross-referenced. So this is data that is cross-referenced not only with early childhood, but with health, life expectancy at birth. But when we look at poverty, it is cross-referenced with early childhood and economic data. And there is a Contact Us button through which you can engage with us. If you see something that you have an opinion, or you want to make changes, or you want to ask questions, please use that website to get in touch with us. Now I want to take you through what was the value add from this project, particularly the use of a particular vendor that we have used to help us in this project, which is MySidewalk. MySidewalk is one of the largest data vendors that provides data to hundreds of municipalities and public and private institutions. One of the advantages of using that data source is that we can look at data citywide. So for example, if I'm looking at life expectancy data, I can pull that data citywide. But I can also segment the data, as the mayor was talking about, that we can look at the data in a much more granular level. We can see what the inside of the city looks like, where the disparities are, and I'll show you some of the data from that. Not only we can look up the data by city council, we can also segment the data by zip code. And perhaps even more interestingly, we can segment the data literally by a neighborhood or census tract. So this gives power on our side that we can not only manage, as the mayor talked about, what we spend, is it making a difference? And in which neighborhood is making a difference? Where it is not making a difference? What we can do better? So it's a tool in our hand, and how much success we gain out of this tool will literally depend upon all of us in this room and beyond. So I'll show you one data point and the segmentation of the data and how it looks like. So we're looking at life expectancy across Jacksonville. So when we see the data across 2 city council districts, we have a life expectancy discrepancy of 10 years. Across 2 zip codes, it's 12 years. But across 2 neighborhoods, it's 25 years. I've said this before: if the neighborhood that is represented by the census, this is census tract data, by that census tract, which is labeled College Park, which is west of Springfield, just south of U of Health, if that neighborhood was a country of its own, it would be ranked 150th. And if Mandarin would have been a country of its own, life expectancy would be #1 in the world. So within the same city, we have that level of disparity. So I'll walk you through, these are the 2 neighborhoods, and these are the 2 census tract data that we have looked at, literally 9.5 miles apart from each other. And we can see what the mayor has talked about this in various settings before, the tale of 2 cities emerge just by following the data. The 25-year life cycle or life expectancy difference between the 2 neighborhoods. We can see employment ratio, almost one double being the other, labor force participation, and the number of people dependent on SNAP. In the College Park neighborhood, almost 3 out of 4 people are dependent on food stamps. So as the mayor said, We are looking at data two different ways. Segmented data across our neighborhoods, but we are also comparing Jacksonville to 13 other peer cities. And the cities that we are comparing to are listed over here. And when you go to the website, you can hover over the map. It'll give you a little bit of a blurb about the population of the city that we chose, who are the leading employers in those cities, what are the major industries that we are comparing ourselves to. And the selection of the city was done in conjunction with our advisory committee. So we chose 3 cities in Florida, the usual ones that you can imagine, Tampa, Miami, and Orlando. We chose 6 cities that have a similar consolidated government like us. We chose 7 cities that have a population of 750,000 or more. 8 or 9 cities have similar industrial or business footprint like we have, major industries being financial services, healthcare, and a strong military presence. And then we have 9 cities that have a majority minority population. So this is the way if you go into the website and you click under Explore Data, this is the way you will see the data segmented. Jacksonville always in bright orange, comparing ourselves to the other cities in our peer city list, but also comparing ourselves to national and state averages. So we can see where we are. Obviously, in this data, we have a challenge to overcome. Our life expectancy data is 2.5 years lower than the state or national average. The same data, as I said before, we can look across our city council district, and that gives us tool to create advocacy around. But in addition to just the data dashboard, we will also provide a rationale for the data. Why does this data matter? Why should you care about this data? Why should all of us care about this data? And for each one of those data dashboards that we will share with you, we provide the rationale, and we will continue to build on this one. With our academic partners, we will continue to figure out what else can we showcase over here that draws urgency and purpose to changing the story of Jacksonville. And I'll just walk you through a couple of data dashboards like this. Another dashboard that you will see is pediatrician ratio. This is tracking the number of children per pediatrician in Jacksonville. So for one pediatrician, there are 712 children in Jacksonville. So that's a lot. As you can see, compared to our peer cities, we are not performing as well as other peer cities are performing. We have a lot of room to improve. When we see that data across our city council district, the disparities become even more stark. In one city council district, we have close to 9,000 children for one pediatrician, versus another city council district where the ratio is 124 to 1. These are data points that should spur us to action, that should make us think. Not everything that is on the dashboard has a government solution to it. This is not necessarily saying, the government can change the number of pediatricians we are recruiting in this city, but it can create a conversation. It can provide leadership in engaging our healthcare sector into improving data sources like this. Another data source that you will see is something that is top of mind on almost everybody's mind right now is affordability. Almost half our city has a rent burden higher than 30%, meaning that more than 30% of their income is spent on rent. That's cost burden. That has real cost. It reduces spending power, reduces discretionary spending, and thus reduces the economic viability of the entire city. The last 3 slides, I'm going to quickly run through them. I know many of you are standing and you're probably getting tired. I'll present these 3 data points in sequence. When we look at the number of residents with at least a high school degree in Jacksonville, we do pretty well. Our graduation rates stack up very well against our high school graduation rates stack up very well against our peer cities. Almost 90% of our residents have at least a high school degree. That's positive news. Now comes the data points that should spur us into action. And in fairness, I have to say, the mayor's leadership, along with the city council's cooperation, we are taking actions in those areas. Look at the number of residents with at least a bachelor's degree. 1 in 3 residents in the city of Jacksonville have a bachelor's degree. We are much lower in the ranking across our city. And then when we look at the number of residents with at least a graduate or a professional degree, we are dead last. So I do not want any one of us to be discouraged seeing data like this. This is not data that should be woe be us. This is data that should say what we can do better. And we know through the investments that city has made with bringing UF to Jacksonville or funding UNF or JU, there are efforts already underway to change this. Now with data, we should be able to track it over time. As we spend, are we improving on these data points? So with that in mind, I'm going to show you a quick economic takeaway just in the interest of time. I'm not going to elaborate too much on this one. But one of the value add that we want to bring through this project is to ask the question, when we look at data like life expectancy or rent burden or college graduates, there is a moral imperative to change those numbers. But in addition, there is the economic imperative to change those numbers. So as an economist, my bias is towards looking at the economic numbers. What is the economic bottom line if we try to improve the number? If we improve life expectancy in Jacksonville on average by just 1 year, from 76.4 to 77.5, it'll add nearly $2 billion in economic value to the city. If we add one pediatrician to the city of Jacksonville, that adds nearly $6.2 million in economic value because it will reduce absenteeism in school, it will keep parents at their jobs, not taking time off for their kids, and so on and so forth. If we add more college graduates to the city, 1,000 more college graduates will add nearly $278 million in economic value to the city. And if we reduce the number of rent burden residents by 10,000, that would add nearly $80 million to the city. I do not have time to go over the details of these calculations, but stay tuned, that's coming. It will be up on the website. With that in mind, I'm going to leave you with this quote. It kind of illustrates everything that this data project is about. That Maya Angelou said so poignantly, so many years ago, that when we know better, we should do better. This project is about the knowing part. Our goal through State of Jax is to get this information in all of your hands. Whether you are a leader with the city, you are a leader with a civic group, you are an academic leader, a professor, a student, all of us can be benefited through this data. Now comes the challenge, collectively for all of us, what can we do to do better? With that in mind, I'm going to invite UNF President Dr. Moez Lemaim to share some of his thoughts, because he not only served as an inspiration to this project, he also started a version of this project in Tampa almost, 7 or 8 years ago, and how the city of Tampa has benefited from this project. He will share some of those thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. Thank you, Mayor Deegan, for initiating this amazing project. And thank you, Parvez. I'm sure the great work that you've seen from Parvez is due to his experience at UNF. Right, Parvez, say yes? All right, very good. As Parvez mentioned, this really brings back great memories from my experience in Tampa Bay. As you may know, I spent 10 years there at USF. And it was an aha moment. That aha moment when a major company that we all use every day to order things was looking for a place to relocate. Tampa Bay was one of the candidates. And when they visited us, everybody in the region, all leaders were really excited. We were using all these vanity ranking. We have the best beaches, the best looking entrepreneurs, everything in between, to sell Tampa Bay as a possible location. But the aha moment was that this company knew more about Tampa Bay challenges than we actually did. That was the aha moment. And what I really discovered is that facts don't disappear just because they are ignored. That's really important. We can ignore them, but others are looking at them. And that is why, with some leaders in Tampa Bay, we started the State of Tampa Bay, very similar effort. And every year we unveil the findings. We compare Tampa Bay competitiveness to 19 other cities, and every year in that event, we have probably 600 leaders, invitation only, 600 leaders attend that. And the report became the roadmap that really helped Tampa Bay be what it is now as a destination of choice and a city that many companies are looking for. Now, but there is a good news. We can do better here. We really can do better. And at UNF, we are absolutely thrilled to be part of these initiatives. How can we help at UNF? I already see wonderful students, great colleagues that make the case that I have the best job in America, maybe the second best after our mayor. But this is where we come in. I think we can use the intellect power that we have at UNF, our wonderful faculty and students, to develop predictive model that will help us move the needle. That's really important. I think Parfait said it very nicely. The data is good, but that's only part of the story. What do you do with this? How do we move our competitiveness from dead last to be among the best? That's where we, at UNF, we can come in using the research that we are conducting so that we build model and say, you know, these are the important factors affecting educational attainment. These are really the important factors affecting unemployment. And if all we collectively, the models will tell you, if you move some of these factors, this is how you will make the progress, and this is how you will become one of the most competitive city and one of the best city to live in. We're just absolutely thrilled. And you know, we also believe that the best way to predict the future is to shape it. All together here, we are really happy to work, and with the great work that our researcher will do, we will shape it. We will not just look at the data and say, wow, this is bad. One of the questions we were struggling with in Tampa Bay was always, you know, some of these news are really bad. Should we make them public? And the answer is absolutely yes. Because you know what? Others are looking at them. The Charlotte of the world, the Austin of the world. As we are speaking now, they're looking at our data and trying to be better than us. My prediction is that cities, we will have two types of cities in our country, the winners and the losers. And what separates the winners from the losers is exactly this, is the ability to look at the data, leverage on the data, and use it to move the needle, to progress, to make our city the best possible city and a world-class city. You know, we always say that people are entitled to their own opinions. They're not entitled to their own facts. Without facts, our city will just become a group of people with opinion. That's not what we want. But you know what? With the great people here, with our great mayor, with all the leaders together, we can work, we can make a difference. And you see that dead last? We're gonna make it the #1. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Moez. Always inspiring to hear you talk, and I love to hear the history behind a project like this that has been so successful. I want to also thank Dr. Avendano from FSCJ for being here. Thank you for your support. What a tremendous job that you do for our community as well. And I want to especially thank our city council people that came to support us here this morning, Rockman Johnson, Jacoby Pittman, and Jimmy Peluso. Thank you all for being here. It is critically important to me that this work be done with council. Because as you know, and I've said it many, many times, I think that politics gets in the way a lot of times of things that are really good for everybody. And I have worked very hard to create relationships with these folks on council, to make sure that everybody knows that the number one thing we should all focus on is our love for our city. And politics shouldn't matter here, especially at the local level, if we all are just working in concert to do what's best for our citizens. And this gives us a tremendous tool. Why would we not take that tool and do everything that we can with it to make sure that our citizens have a better life? That's why we're supposed to all be here, right? So I think it's tremendous, and I'm very excited about seeing some of those numbers move. But I'm very excited about being able to understand, as I said earlier, the whole picture. That's what you need to sharpen your axe. Come on in. Certainly, come on in. Hi. So with that, does anybody have any questions on this particular topic? Yes. It will be continuous, but I'm going to let Parvez talk about how the research is done.
So most of the data is publicly sourced data. We are using a data vendor, as I mentioned, My Sidewalk. My Sidewalk brings in data from several sources. They use data from, I'll tell you the sources that they use it from. They use US Census Bureau, CDC, EPA, HUD, Bureau of Labor Statistics, and much more. Some of the data comes from state level data, like state health departments. And they also bring in data from private sources, like GoDaddy tracks the number of new businesses being opened in a city. So there's a GoDaddy micro business activity index. So they do this. The reason we use My Sidewalk as a data vendor over here, because number one, they vouch for the veracity of the data. They look through the data. If there's something to be cleaned up, if something is flagged that something is not right, they take care of that. The second part is that they allow us, as I showed you on the map, to geospatially align the data. So if I want to create a map of, again, life expectancy by city council district or by census tract, I can literally map it. So that level of micro level targeting, as well as the tools that they use, and then now, of course, like everybody else, they have an AI interface to the data, so we can query the data in a much more like normal English language way. So all of that helps us provide the kind of granular detail and the advanced analytics on it. In terms of your second part of the question, will there be? Yes, there will be more. This is just the initial launch. This is literally phase one of this multi-phase process. The next phase we will look into more research that the mayor talked about, like root causes. Let's do root cause analysis. President Limayam talked about it. So we can tweak and understand, like if we want to impact poverty rates in the city, what are the salient variables that we should be focusing on? So we will, over time, we will add that. And that's why we have academic partners, not only from UNF, but from JU, from FSCJ, from Edward Waters. We will use the talent repository that we have in the city to provide the best answers we can for the citizens of Jacksonville.
Well, look, that will be ongoing. You know, we're already doing that. I think the data on how many people are cost burdened when it comes to housing is very, very helpful. I think the data on education level, I think, is incredibly helpful to us, and how we can talk with our business partners and our nonprofit partners to change those numbers. I mean, all those things, we'll be using it in an ongoing way. But truthfully, you know, this is an investment in the future. This is really what we're doing here. Whether these things come to full fruition, and they won't, you know, in the time that I'm here, it's going to be an ongoing thing. So my hope is, you know, in 25 years, when we have all those additional people here in Jacksonville, that they'll be talking about our quality of life, not about our problems, but about our quality of life. That's why I said, you know, I really do believe this is what separates the great cities. Is this type of knowledge and ability to create policy that makes life better for our citizens because of it. Otherwise, as you know, as Moaz said, you're just talking about people with a whole lot of opinions, and that doesn't really get us very far. I think we are an exceptional city in an exceptional country, and we have to behave that way. I am fully positive about what data can do for us. Facts are so important, and we have to make sure that we're getting our arms around those facts. I do want you to understand that, you know, this is not information you can get on ChatGPT. You know, there's a lot of good stuff that you can get, you know, by going to things like ChatGPT. This is not one of those things. This requires a lot of analysis and a lot of tools, and I'm grateful that we have this, and I really appreciate all our nonprofit partners who have been part of this. Yes.
So last month before tax launch, you noted there was an undercount in the 2020 census in the state of Florida, or a belief that there was an undercount. And previously, you know, local members of Jacksonville's Hispanic community have said that they have not stepped forward to be counted because of concerns that it would be detrimental to their benefit. So my question is, what can be done to ensure that the data that's included in the analysis is truly inclusive of all of Jacksonville, so that the data output is more inclusive?
Well, my easy answer would be better policy, but I'll see if Parvez has an answer for that.
Well, I mean, the quick answer is, I mean, Census Department keeps on updating their census data. So census is done once every 10 years, but American Community Survey data is updated almost every year. So the population data that I shared with you comes from the 2024 ACS update to the census data. So one of the things that when we look at data, and as the mayor goes around and talks about the data with community groups and shares this information, my hope is more people would be eager to join the conversation, not only on how to make these things better, but also respond to a census survey when we have a census survey again next.
You can, but let me just do this. I want to go through any questions on this first, and then I'm happy to take any other questions that you have. If you want to do that here, that's fine with me. Okay, do you mind if we get through this topic first, Jake, and then we'll go on to that? Okay, go ahead.
So in geographic area, downtown is where the city is spending far and away the most money. Should the city be spending less money downtown, more money elsewhere to really make a difference in all these gaps that this report's identified?
I don't really see the connection there, David, honestly. I think we have to have a city center, a heartbeat of the city, a place where people want to come, and we have to make that city center livable and walkable and playable, all those things that we talk about. So I don't think that is the case. I think we wanted a city that has a desirable city center, and that's what we have not had in the past, because we have committed and then not committed to doing that. So I am all about going full force to make sure that we have that area that will unite our city, that will have people from every one of those. How many neighborhoods did I say? 168 neighborhoods, or whatever that number was. I want people to have a common place that they think of when they think of Jacksonville, and in addition to their wonderful neighborhoods where they want to come and spend time and perhaps live. So I don't know that this data refutes any of that. I think when you look at the numbers of people who perhaps graduate from school and then move, I mean, if you look at those college numbers, for instance, just take a look at that. Obviously, it helps that we have one of the hottest job markets in the country right now, right? So I'm hopeful that will help. But when we look at that, what I see if we provided something that would create an opportunity for more of our young people to want to stay home or want to be here once they graduate, instead of going to a city that perhaps they perceive has more going on, then that is a positive about developing the downtown. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it for sure. Yeah.
How do you think the data will affect long-term spending?
I don't know.
Well, as you saw, in our partnership, we have several philanthropic groups as partners. One of our goals through this project was to bring everybody on that common platform, so that now with this data in their hands, philanthropic leaders can engage in their own conversations on how to allocate resources better, smarter.
If I may?
Yeah, please.
I think this is really a great question.
If you want to come up here, Miles.
Didn't mean to. But this is a great question. As someone who deals with philanthropists and donors, what we are seeing is they evolve. You know, they used to use the heart. You know, I like this cause, I will invest. Now it's very different. They're getting much smarter. They require facts, and they require return on investment. And this is exactly where data comes in to provide the facts where the need is, but also provide the facts that actually their philanthropy made a difference and moved the needle. So.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
One more, I did not walk around Jacksonville today. So candidly, for decades, you know, race has been used as a divisive issue, and there's massive disparities in education, job prospects, health outcomes, home ownership affordability based on race, and two differences based on zip codes here in Jacksonville. What ways specifically will State of Jax shrink those disparities that everyone in this room knows about and is trying to fix, but hasn't come back to some people?
Well, I think that's the point that Parvez was making up here, is that when you have to know you have a problem and how big the problem is and where the problem is before you can start to really address the problem. That's part of sharpening that axe, right? You have to know the depth of the issues and where they're happening. So I think it's a great tool to have to find out what communities, what neighborhoods, you know, do we need to focus on. And I will say, I believe that we've done much of that since we have been here. Talking about, you know, making sure that we shift our CIP priorities, our capital improvement project priorities to those areas where there have been historic disinvestments. So this, to me, it is a wonderful tool, because otherwise it's just people's. My dearest hope, I'm just going to say it, is that this takes the politics out of arguments. And I know that's a pipe dream and on a lot of levels. But what we're doing here is we are fact finding. And so people can actually look at the data, know what we are dealing with, and create policy accordingly. It takes away a lot of the emotional or, you know, biases, whatever that is, and says, look, this is the reality that we're dealing with. So let's in fact deal with it. And I'm hopeful that everybody will see it, or at least most will see it that way. Is that all the questions on this? Okay, I will go ahead, Jake. I will take your and folks, I'm sorry that you have to be involved in the rest of these questions if you're not here for this, but you'll get a good civics lesson today on all the other things that your mayor is dealing with. Okay, yes.
Back and forth between the state village team and the city of Jacksonville. Mongolia basically says there's nothing in state law that says that these Doge team members need to sign off on these technology user agreements. Is the city willing to back off of that? What is sort of are we going to see a conflict when they show up on Thursday if these agreements still need to be signed?
Listen, Jake, here's the thing. I don't really understand what the controversy is here. You know, I am hopeful we can just resolve that. I've got a call in to Blaise Ngolia, and I hope we can resolve it. It is when we have our independent auditors who come in here every year, we are bound by state law to have them sign off on not this particular agreement, but a agreement to make sure that we're protecting our data, to make sure that if there's a breach, there's an agreement there. So at the end of the day, all I am trying to do as your chief executive officer, and I have taken an oath to do that, is to make sure we are protecting our city data. We have not denied access to any data, nor are we going to deny access to anything. We want to work with our partners at the state. All we've asked is, please just sign. It's a darn simple thing. It's just a couple of pages here. I've got it in case anybody wants to look at it before we go. But there's not much to it aside from understanding how our systems work and agreeing to certain steps that go into making sure that our systems are protected. So I didn't think that was a bit controversial when we asked them to sign that, because we ask everybody that goes into our system to sign it. So I hope we can have a conversation and resolve it. Either way, the state will certainly have access to all the data that they want to have access to.
Follow up to
It may be both, Jake. Certainly, there are politics involved. That seems evident by simply the comments that I've already heard this morning. This was not a controversy to me. It was simply something that we to protect our data, ask anybody who accesses our system to do. I hope we can get that resolved and we move forward. Either way, whether it is political or whether it is based in some sort of a desire to help us with our finances, which are now going to be, I think this is triple or quadruple checked between our auditors, our outside auditors, our Doge team, and the state Doge team. And by the way, we have our lean process team that's been doing a lot of things too, and we have a AA+ rating, and we have the lowest property taxes of any large city in the state by far. I could go on and on. But at the end of the day, if this is something that the state wants to do, we're happy to provide them with what they want. I think they're going to find a very fiscally responsible, successful financial picture. So I don't have any reason to not want them to see that. I just, I don't know why this particular thing seems to be controversial. Well, look, we are, in fact, in the city of Jacksonville, independently elected leaders of our cities. Our city council, your mayor, we've all been elected by our citizens. So my hope would be that there would be suggestions offered. But, I've talked before to all of you about my concern about state overreach into local government. So my hope would be that they would want to be good partners. They would want to give us some advice on things that they see, but that they wouldn't overstep any further than that. I don't know. Frankly, I have just called and requested a discussion with the CFO. I want to understand why this is an issue, and hopefully we can just get it resolved that way. Either way, it will be resolved. This is not going to be something that I am, as I think you know, I am not enamored of political fights. I think they take our attention away from the things that we should be doing for our citizens. And frankly, we already have dozens of employees in the city that are spending hundreds upon hundreds of hours collecting all of this data for the state, while frankly, in my mind, they could be working for our citizens with that time. And we are, by the way, tracking those hours. But this is what we're asked to do, and we will certainly do it. And so none of this is to me, a controversy. It's simply a process.
Mayor, if the Board of Doge says we're not signing that external use agreement, no way does the city say, okay, you can still come in and have access to the information technology?
Yeah, David, we're not there yet. I just want to have the conversation first. I don't want to draw any lines in the sand. I just want to understand how I can, as the mayor of this city, make sure that we have an agreement that our data is protected. That's it. I mean, that is really it. So I'm not here to say we're not, none of that. I just want to make sure that we understand each other. And so far we haven't had a conversation. So I don't know how that's going to go. I'm not gonna answer your hypothetical, but I think what I've tried to say to you is I fully expect us to reach some sort of a conclusion, but this is not gonna go on and on. I'm not going to allow this to become a political talking point for weeks on end over something like this. I simply want to make sure that I am doing my responsibility as mayor and protecting our data in every way that I am legally bound to do. That's all. I think, frankly, that our salaries across the city are low. I think we have incredibly talented people who are trying to do the best jobs that they can, and we have held raises down because of the fact that we want to keep our financial house in order. But no, certainly, I don't think those salaries are too high. It's interesting to me sometimes what folks will focus on with our $2 billion budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. We can share it. Let everybody leave the